All right, good morning. We have a lot of material to cover. Most of it's not academic or content stuff until Mr. Kelleher talks for the last 15 minutes or so. But there's a number of things, just bookkeeping, accounting type stuff that we want to make sure that you're aware of. So here's our general schedule. On Mondays, we'll have lab groups. Lab groups doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a lab, but it's in the flex mod schedule. That's the term we use to describe more of your traditional class setting, where it's going to be 2 mods long, so it's 1 hour, and we meet in the classrooms, Mr. Kelleher's, Mr. Dusty's classroom, and you'll have 25 kids probably in there. The Monday class, which you haven't had yet, but whoever your teacher is on Mondays is your tutor, your teacher of record. So when you turn stuff in, that's who you're going to turn all your assignments, homework into, is your Monday teacher. And I'll reinforce that again in a few slides when we get to how and where to turn stuff in. Tuesdays, yesterday you didn't have any chemistry. We don't have any chemistry on Tuesdays, but that's a great day. If you need to get caught up, get some assistance, go to the resource center. Mr. Gussie, Mr. Kelleher, and I are in the resource center most of Tuesdays. Wednesdays is obviously a large group. We videotape our Wednesday classes. So if you have a conflict, if you have an absence, you will be able to find a videotape of the lecture on the chemistry website. Small group is on Thursday. That's just 1 mod. That'll be again in the Mr. Kelleher's, Mr. Gussie's, or my classroom. It's typically where we just kind of review and give some assistance on the stuff that we talked about in large group on Wednesday, and then Friday is another 1 hour class. When we do lab activities, I just said do. It's typically on Mondays or Fridays, but sometimes it might just be lecture or workday or whatever. Okay. PLT, as you're well aware, stands for personal learning time. We expect that you're going to take advantage of that. You don't have to do science all day, every day, but the Science Resource Center is a great place to get help with your chemistry. Mr. Smrava is in there virtually all day, every day. There's a few mods during the week where he's down in the Math Resource Center, but even when he's not in there, Mr. Gussie, Mr. Kelleher, or I are in there quite frequently, and if it's not one of us, then it's one of the other science teachers. There's almost always Mr. Smrava and another science teacher in there. But use that VLT time, take advantage of it, get in there, and that's why it's called personal learning time, so you can do what you need to do. There's us. And I didn't plan it, but that guy is this guy. I'm a graduate of UWSP, chemistry major, physics minor, huge Badger fan, Pointer fan also, probably most famous Pointer graduate that anybody that's a sports fan might know is Terry Porter. He was going to play basketball for the Pointers when I was there the first time. I quit and went back later. Alabama fan. My first dog was named Bama when I was 15 years old. He got run over by the car, but survived because he was a dachshund and did a little barrel roll as the car went over and scared the snot out of him, and he came right back. Game of Thrones. Mr. Gus is going to give you the business about me not being a true Game of Thrones fan. I was a Game of Thrones fan before he was a Game of Thrones fan, and he decided he wanted to get all caught up. And I'm trying to get friends caught up, so I didn't watch this season. He can tell you his story, and it's all mine. I'm a huge Cardinal fan. I've been a Cardinals fan since I was learning how to throw and catch. As you probably know, they've got 11 World Series rings. Mr. Gussie may have something to say about baseball.
This is your turn to talk. Talk to me.
Packer fan. If you're not a Packer fan, you just don't get it. Lou Reed fan, favorite musician, probably founding member of the Velvet Underground. Again, I'm telling you stuff you probably already know, because they were probably the most influential rock band of the 1960s, with the exception possibly of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And Lou Reed's most famous song was Walking on the Wild Side, Perfect Day, which is another one. And I'm a Broadhead Cardinal graduate from high school, played football, basketball, baseball, and big fan of sports and chemistry.
Hey, Mr. Blackford, everyone. I love how you do this. All right, I'm Mr. Gusty. I went to Appleton West, so I'm not too far from home right now. But then I went to Minnesota for college, called St. Olaf College, about an hour south of the Twin Cities. I stayed in the Twin Cities. I did some graduate work at University of Minnesota, and then I taught in an inner city school named Como Park, which was right next to a big park. They had a free zoo, which was awesome. And that was over 10 years ago since I moved here, so I've been at Pulaski since. I am one of the tennis coaches for boys and girls, defending conference and sectional champions. I am an Eagle Scout. I love the Packers. That's a virtual helmet, but some artists did some additions to other helmets. You can tell it's a cheesehead helmet. Pretty cool. I am a fan of the world champion Chicago Cubs, current. I don't live in the past. I am an avid golfer. I love Stone Temple Pilots. You'll hear songs that you didn't know were from Stone Temple Pilots. I am addicted to Chipotle, uncomfortably so. 3 years ago they knew me by name, so I had to start revisiting the fact that maybe I shouldn't go there so much. So much one time, I think at one point I think I lost my wallet, forgot my wallet. They let me go out to my car with my food and go get my wallet and bring it back. I realized I hadn't paid for what they gave me because they knew me so well. I love The Walking Dead. I love Breaking Bad as a chemistry teacher. Modern Family is pretty funny. My favorite author is Kurt Vonnegut, and I like Game of Thrones. That's all I'll say about that. So there I am, Mr. Gusty.
I'm Mr. Kelleher. My first year teaching at Pulaski, my 23rd year teaching over. I learned to become a teacher at St. Norbert College, Go Green Knights. And then I have done some graduate work since then at UW River Falls, UW Green Bay, and this is on a sink a little bit. That's my high school, Electric Trempealeau. It's 3 towns combined together. A lot of times it gets abbreviated GET, which I was in the marching band, and we had to carry our banner, which was always abbreviated GET, and you'd have some people that would say, yeah, get high. It wasn't all about drugs, trust me. I also went to UW La Crosse to get my chemistry, a lot of my chemistry. I did my organic chemistry and my analytical chemistry stuff there to become a wonderful chemistry teacher for you guys. When I was in high school, my favorite sport to play was golf. I actually was a 4-sport athlete. I was in football, basketball, golf, and baseball, because baseball was the summertime sport when I was there. But golf was my favorite. It was one that I actually did the best in, surprisingly. And I still love to golf today. And my other thing that I did as a kid was I played with model railroads, and that just kind of stuck with me. I still play with trains. I'm a model railroader with the National Railroad Museum. We do there's a little shed there, and I help work on the layouts and putting out the model railroads there. I am also a Cardinals fan. 11 championships, yes. I think the Cubs are up to 3 now. I'm also a St. Louis Blues fan. I love hockey. One of the things I went to St. Norbert College for was they had a nice little hockey. It was a varsity sport. I didn't have that in high school, but it was a varsity sport in college. Unfortunately, the year that I arrived there, kind of thinking I could maybe play it, they hired this guy named Tim Cogman, who's the coach there still, and he brought a bunch of guys from Canada, and they were really good, so I did not make the team. I didn't get close. But I do love watching hockey. Packer fan, of course. My music, I love Led Zeppelin. You'll see another band is up here. So that's a symbol for Led Zeppelin, one of their albums. My favorite TV show is Law and Order. I do enjoy watching that one a lot. Apparently I'm going to have to become a Game of Thrones fan at some point in time. My favorite sci-fi genre, I do like Star Wars a lot, but Star Trek is probably my favorite. I also love AC/DC. And my favorite movie is The Fifth Element, which I originally went to see because I thought it was about chemistry. The Fifth Element. It was not about the element boron, though. It was completely different. But it was still an awesome movie, so I enjoyed it.
Mr. Keller, everyone.
not quite so interesting as our personal bios, but here's how your grade's gonna break down. 15% of your overall grade is gonna be homework, so the grade is gonna be weighted over the course of the year. 50% of all of your grade is gonna be your homework grade. Homework is graded more on completion than it is on accuracy. There's a significant amount of it. It's not all day, every day, but you're gonna get plenty of opportunities to practice chemistry. Please take advantage of those and complete your homework on time, because it's worth a lot more if it's on time. It's worth not much if it's turned in late. 30% of your grade is labs. We'll do labs roughly once a week. And the big guy is your tests and quizzes, 55%. So you do your homework to make sure that you're ready for the tests and quizzes. And Mr. Gus is going to mention this again, that there are no makeups on tests and quizzes, with one exception, and that is the first one that he's going to talk about today, which is your element quiz. After that, if you're not ready for a quiz or a test when it's time to take it, you still got to take it, and don't come back the next day or after it's been graded and say, can I retake this? The answer is no. Stay up to date and be prepared. Textbook, we are not going to issue textbooks to everyone, but they are available if you'd like to have a textbook. This is a resource you can study or do some additional review, reading. You can get a textbook from us, but we will not be issuing them to everyone. As I mentioned before, you don't have to worry about really not having a textbook, because most of the lecture, or the significant part of the lecture, is going to be done in large groups. It will be videotaped, so even if you're here and you're taking notes, you can always go back and watch that videotape again. You'll get one late pass for a missed assignment. If you miss your assignment, you attach that late pass, turn it in within a week of the original date, and you can get full credit on that assignment. That's the only one. Other than that, it's not good on labs, it's only good on homework. Not good for taking a quiz or a test again, only good for homework. Lab makeups, as I said, we have labs about once a week. If you are absent or have a conflict and miss a lab, the lab will remain set up in Mr. Kelleher's and or Mr. Gussie's room for about 2 weeks. You need to get in and you need to make arrangements to get in and make up that lab within those 2 weeks. We're not going to have students making up labs from 3 and 4 weeks later. It doesn't benefit you for one thing, because the lab is supposed to be a learning experience. And if you wait 3 or 4 weeks to make it up, then you will have already taken the test and missed the opportunity to really benefit from the lab. The other thing is, we don't want to deal with stragglers. So be proactive, take care of your business. If you miss a lab, come and see one of us the next day. Talk to us about when you're available, when we're available, so you can get in the classroom and we get that made up. You don't need to get this guy a picture yet, but tomorrow or Friday, one of the days in the very near future, we'll give you this so you can take a picture of it, and you will use that to access a document, so you can tell us whether you want to order a lab notebook and or goggles. You will need a lab notebook for the class. You've got 2 different styles. This is 75-page spiral bound. There's also a 100-page top bound. They're $10, maybe $11. They're nice. They have pressure-sensitive copies in there, so you write what you want, and then when it's time to turn it in, you just tear out the perforated page, hand it in. You can buy lab notebooks elsewhere, but they're not going to be any nicer than this, and they're probably going to be more expensive. Same with goggles. We're selling them for $6. You can get your goggles somewhere else if you don't want to get them from us, but if you want to get them from us, they are available, and they are perfectly acceptable. Here's the overview of when Mr. Gussie, Mr. Kelleher, and I are available. Anything that's marked in yellow here is when we have either prep or we're assigned to be in the resource center. So you can see on Monday, there's quite a few days, or quite a few hours. On Tuesday, there's quite a few. Thursday's a big guy. there's almost always a chemistry teacher in the resource center, or at least will prep just about any module day on Thursdays. Our schedules are posted in the resource center, outside our classroom door, outside the science resource or the science pod in the glass display case. So if you need to check and see how our schedule matches up with yours so you can get some help or make something up, it'll be easy to find. Keep up with your stuff. If you're not planning ahead, you're planning to fail. Homework. All homework's going to be turned in by 3:05 on the date that it's due. As I said before, your teacher of record, your tour is determined by who is your teacher on Monday. You have me on Monday. All of your homework is being turned into me. Whether you get that assignment on Monday or Wednesday or Thursday or when it's due for the first semester, if I'm your Monday teacher, I'm your tour, I'm getting all your homework. Due at 3:05, there's a big rack in the back of the Science Resource Center that allows you to turn all of your homework in. So I only have Mod 7 and 8, one section of chemistry this year. If you're in my Monday class, everything is going right in here. Mr. Augustie's got 4 sections of chemistry. Mr. Kelleher's got 3 sections of chemistry. When you do your homework, please write your name on it, obviously, and write your mod number, your Monday mod number. And then, when it's time to turn it in, if you are in Mr. Augustie's 9-10 section on Monday, all of your homework is always going in that slot. Sounds difficult, huh? It's not.
We have a slot on the homework too. It's really easy. It says tour and then it says BK or BGK. You circle which one and then you write the tour numbers.
Yeah, right on the top of the homework, you put B, G, and K at the top so you can circle who's the letter of your tour and write the number.
So we made this because at parent conferences we had many students relaying in the last 2 years during the Flex Mod how difficult, and I'm being sarcastic, and yet this is what was told to us, how difficult it was to hand in homework for chemistry. So we made a video.
Not that bad. Not that bad.
Can you go?
All right, I think this is my last slide, or close to it. Where, as I mentioned before, homework is due by 3:05. After 3:05, the door is typically locked, and we pick it all up. And if it's turned in after that, it's late. Your late homework is worth 25% of the total points. So your 20-point assignment at 3:05 becomes a 5-point score at 8 o'clock the next morning, or at 4 o'clock, 3:10 that afternoon. Labs are worth up to 50%, and the 25% and the 50% is assuming that it's complete and well done. So just because you turn in something that's halfway done a day late doesn't mean you're getting 25% of the points. It's still got to be complete, it's still got to be well done. On the other hand, if you did 3/4 of the worksheet and then for whatever reason forgot about it, didn't know how to do the last couple of problems, and it's 3:04, it's time to turn it in. Because if you did 3/4 of it, you're going to get probably 3/4 of the points. We're turning it in on time versus 1/4 of the points for trying to finish it and turning it in late the next day. Okay?
All right. And the reason why we do the late points, I know every class is different, but chemistry is so much about the previous topics. It really truly builds on it. Chapter 2 really does build to Chapter 3, which builds to Chapter 4. Some other topics or subjects might have some sort of study on a book or a topic, and then the next time, the next chapter may not really relate. It really does relate, so we're trying to encourage you not to fall behind. But, let's say you do or you need a little extra boost. We are here to give you a little extra opportunity. So, you can do a little extra credit. It's basically 1 a quarter with an exception. 4th quarter you can get a bonus. So I want to quickly just go over, we have posters, or we'll have a poster in each room explaining what this is as well. So you can do a science report, we can do a book photo or a lab book photo, or you can bring in a mole. If you bring in a mole, you can't do that again, but this you can do every single quarter, or you can do this every single quarter. So let's quickly talk about that. Science reports, we have a really easy to use website for you, which will link from Canvas. So you can either use Canvas or click the link on Canvas, which will be a big image and it'll take you to the website. And it'll always take you to the current chapter, which would be nice. But these are all sorts of websites that you can go to. You find an article. My favorite is Science Daily. It has short articles about things that are really interesting. And then you type up a page, submit it onto Canvas, you're done. Get 15 points of extra credit. Find something that you're interested in. It's really hard to type a whole page if you're not interested in finding the 6th toe of some dinosaur and it causes it to run faster and you're just dying after like 3 sentences. That's hard. But maybe you're into cats and you're like, wow, tomatoes give cats cancer. That's crazy. And you just type it away and maybe you got to make yourself stop after it. You get a summary. It can be double-spaced. It's always my favorite, all those questions. What size font? Normal size font. Don't screw around with the margins too much. I invented that in college. Trying to figure out how to get from 15 pages to 17 pages by doing nothing but font changes and margins. It's not worth it. Just type an extra couple of sentences and get it done. Book photo. So, you may not have a book. The reason why we don't have books for everybody is that we don't have enough books for everybody and we're getting new books soon. So, but you should always have something with you. Hopefully you're working on chemistry. So if you have your lab book and you're out of state, it's got to be out of state, you can take a picture. So maybe you're on the beach. This could be you. You got to make sure that you are smiling and you got to be holding the book. It's like, I don't like to smile. Well, then you shouldn't go for this extra credit. You don't have to show your teeth and you just smile. Maybe you went to Paris. Maybe you went to the moon. You have to prove that you're in the picture though. I've had a couple weird ones where I'm like, this has got to be Photoshopped. Like it just looks weird. Like one person was right on the edge of the Grand Canyon. And I'm like, this doesn't look right. Like there's a weird halo, or somebody put a book on a fence post and just took a picture of it with the desert behind them. Like, you got to be in the photo. So you can't go up to license plates either, like UWGB. Just start going to each one that's out of state and take a picture with your thumbs up. So it could be any of these. It could be with Miley Cyrus. The point is, you need to be in the photo. Lastly, a mole. It's got to be something that says mole on it. Could be fun. We're not asking you to spend money, but maybe you or your parents run across it and it's some great deal. It can't be repeat. So if you're not sure what is repeated, at least I know I have mine displayed, what has been given to me. It's got to be original. It can't, well, I shouldn't say it that way. It's got to be something that's produced. 2 years ago, somebody tried to make me one out of a toilet paper roll. Little googly eyes, and stuffed it with I don't know what. I never even took it from them. They're like, well, it took me like a half an hour to make this, which that was an issue in itself, because that couldn't have been more than about a minute. If I would have said yes to that, I would have been scared of what would have started coming into the room. We don't need to make homemade mole things. So if you find something great, somebody gave me a really cool children's book last year. It was like The Mole and the Investigation of Who Done It. A better title than that. But it even had a surprise ending, so I encourage you to read it if you see it in your room. But you can definitely do that. Last quarter, which 4th quarter or 3rd quarter is the same thing for your grade. It affects your grade the same, regardless if you feel like it does or not. It all goes in the same pot. You can bring in a box of Puffs Plus as a bonus. So you can do a report and bring in a box, and you get double extra credit for that quarter. So that'll kind of help you at the end of the year. We're very partial to Puffs Plus. We have a lot of stock in it, so we're trying to help ourselves. We like good tissues in here, so you bring it in or junk, Kleenex, Scotties, or Angel Soft. Sorry if anybody works there, that's some family thing, that's more of a joke. then it's only worth 5, and please, oh, I'll bring 3 of them in. We don't want 3 things that we're not looking for. We want 1 that we are. So if you have a box of Puffs Plus, you get 15 points. It's got to be the normal size, and that's extra. But that won't be until 4th quarter. So we'll remind you. Summary. It's amazing. 4 quarters. You get 1 extra credit per quarter. You get 1 bonus in the for the 4th quarter. I should have written it that way. You get 75 potential points. Not bad. All right. All right, last 2 things that I'm going to talk about quickly. If you just look at your assignment sheet, you will get a chapter assignment sheet every single chapter. It is meant to keep you organized. We will have them in our rooms. We will have them sent to you every week. We send you a chemistry weekly email that has links to things. On there, just a couple things to notice. On the left side, it says the day underneath it. It'll say SG or lab or LG, so it gives you context. It's always small group, large group, or lab. Not that that changes. On the last 2 columns, it's item or a homework. How do I word that? Homework assigned and homework due. So it'll say when it was assigned and it'll say when it was due. So it's never like, oh shoot, I didn't know that that was assigned. Or when was that assigned? I see it's due today. Well, it was assigned maybe 2 days ago. So you can definitely see when things are assigned and due. It looks like we have a quiz, chapter 3 quiz, in about 2.5 weeks from now. So we try to stay real true to that. It does have pages for reading. You're like, well, I don't have a book. Again, at the end of this week, you can check out a book if you like. You can have that at home if you like, if you need that little extra supplemental material. Okay. The other sheet. If you want to if you don't have that out, please get that out. In a week from now, you have an opportunity to start off the quarter of the year real strong with the highest averaging test that we have for the year. Quiz, whatever you want to call it. Right? Quiz or test for me, it's always the same. It just depends on it. It's the element quiz. You probably have to do this in middle school or other times as well. We are requiring you to do 46 elements. You're like, oh my gosh. Well, there's 119, so you're welcome. We could have done a lot more. You have to know the symbol and the name. So for example, on there, it has atomic number. So number 1, and we tell you which one is hydrogen. So you write hydrogen and then H. Strong suggestion right now, please. To the left, make a little star like right between 20 and 22. The reason why I say that is after number 20, it isn't every single element in order. They're in numerical order, but we start to skip. It's a really bad feeling when all of a sudden you get down there and you're like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. I am only on 36 and it says 70 on my sheet. Okay? It starts to skip around. It's not an accident. We're only making you know 46. How the quiz goes, we'll give you 23 names. You'll give us the symbol. So if we say helium, you'll have to write capital H, lowercase e. Okay? If we say W, then you're going to have to write the word tungsten. Now there's about, in my opinion, 11 that are difficult. And we're going to help you figure those out and come up with some fun ways to try to remember those, okay? Here is the rub, as they say. There is a special stipulation on this test. Now, when you first hear it, you're going to think of it as a negative, but I view this as a huge positive. You have to get 40 out of 46. If you don't, you get a chance to retake it, okay? This is the one test you get to retake. So, like, let's just say you bombed and like, no, I got a 28, which means you didn't study. You get a chance to retake it. Now here's the stipulations. Every time you retake it, there has to be a penalty, because that's not fair to people who came and studied. And maybe you did study and you kind of had a gaffe, and you just kind of messed up. Great, if you got a 39, the dreaded 39. You get to retake it, and let's say you got a 42 the next time. You can only get a 40 for the score. You take it again, let's say you still didn't get over 40. Let's say you got a 28 still. The next test, you get a 46. Yes, I aced it. If that was your second retake, you can only get a 35. So it's really smart. I have actually pushed students away when they didn't do very well, like they weren't close, it wasn't like a 39, it was like a 28, and they come in the next day like, no, you should wait a couple more days, because you want to make sure you pass it on the next one, or the next one, right? I've had about 2,000 students take this test. I can count on just 2 hands of how many students have never passed the test. So if you actually give it an effort, you'll do well. I understand parents will be confused or frustrated, like my student got a 70%, why do they have a 0 in the grade book? Because they just need to come back in, and we'll send an email to them eventually about it, and just retake it, and you'll get a higher grade, because you'll have to get a 40. So people do very well. Believe me, if you make some flashcards, suggestion, and then I'm done today for me. Don't be studying the stuff you know. Oxygen, O, yeah, hydrogen, H, woo, and you're all pumping yourself up, but you keep messing up on 10. You're like, it's fine though, because I got these. You can only make 6 mistakes. It used to be only 4. We've added actually 2 that you can make a mistake on. So you start going, oh, iron, shoot, oh, FE, dang it. Put that into a different pile. Make some flashcards or do it on your iPad, make some flashcards. And find the ones you're not doing well on. If you practice those, you'll do great. And it's a great test. It'll actually carry you through first quarter for a while, even if you stumble on some other things. Okay? So if you have any questions, we'll talk about that again tomorrow. That is not a homework sheet. You'll never hand this in. It is your study guide. Suggestion, if you don't want to make flashcards, just fold it in half. And you can go back and forth. But unfortunately, you get to see other ones, and you'll convince yourself that you knew the next one. You'll see the next one, and you'll like, oh no, I didn't. FE, iron, I totally did that. Even though you didn't. Okay, so that's in a week. You get a full week. We'll practice it a little bit every day in class. If you have any questions, we'll answer those tomorrow.
A funny story about Puffs, actually. When I taught in Green Bay, I taught at Notre Dame Academy for 14 years, and they had a Procter & Gamble who produces Puffs. They had Trees for Tomorrow workshops, and they would take kids from the Green Bay schools, and a bunch of teachers would chaperone the trip. But I got to ride in the bus a lot of times that had the executive people that were in charge of it from Procter & Gamble. And we had a new teacher from, I think it was Green Bay East, and we were riding up there, and he sneezed, and he asked if anybody had any Kleenex. All right, so take out a piece of paper or something to write with, or to write on, either your notes or notebook, because now it is time for chemistry class. This is all wonderful introductory stuff. Now we actually have to get into learning some things. So we're starting off with something called dimensional analysis. We start off with scientific method. We're going to go right to it. Learning chemistry is really difficult at times because it seems like it's more than one class. A lot of times you're going to be thinking like, wow, chemistry is like a foreign language. Sodium hydroxide, I mean, like, you can break that out with letters and everything like that. You know that those are words. That's like the English representation. But then you have to translate that to chemistry. Translating from Spanish to English. It's NaOH. That's the chemistry way of saying sodium hydroxide. So sometimes it'll seem like a foreign language. Other times it's going to feel like a math class because math is a really powerful tool to be able to allow us to understand things and find patterns and relationships with stuff. And that's what we're going to do right away. We're going to talk about dimensional analysis, which is looking for relationships between measurements. A lot of times we can use it to solve other problems too. So it's a really useful tool that we're going to start off with teaching you guys that you can use not just in chemistry, but if you take physics, it's a really useful tool there as well. So one of the things that we can do with dimensional analysis is convert between units of measurement. Because how many times have you seen a question like that? How many blank are in a blank? I get this one a lot when my son, who is just joined cross country, is like, Dad, how many miles is a 5K? Oh, that's one of those. How many blank miles are in a given amount? 5K, 5 kilometers. It's like 3.1. So what we need in order to be able to solve these problems are these things called equalities or equivalences. So that's a relationship between two different measurement units. One that we're pretty familiar with is 1 dozen eggs is equal to 12 eggs. Dozen represents the number 12. That's an equivalency between those two different amounts. Dozen and 12 are equal to each other. There's another example up here. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. It's another equivalency. And there's tons of equivalencies. We run into equivalencies all the time. How many feet are in a mile? 5,000 feet per day. That's an equivalency. How many hours are in a day? 24 hours. Those are equal measurements, but they're different representations, different units, with different numbers that go with it. If you look at this, 1 goes with dozen, 12 goes with the eggs. 1 goes with meter, 100 goes with centimeter. They're still equal, and that's because there's a balance there. The centimeter is a smaller amount of measurement. Meter is a bigger measurement. So to keep that balance, we have a number 1 here, which is a smaller number, and we have a larger number, 100, that goes with our smaller unit of measurement. So there's always this balance. If it's a smaller unit of measurement, it needs a bigger number to get equal. Last thing to talk about here before we move on is we can represent these as a fraction, which is equal to 1, because the top measurement is equal to the bottom measurement. 1 dozen is the same thing as 12. So when you divide those, like you do in a fraction, that equals 1. And so it doesn't matter which way we write that. We can flip that upside down. Like we have here, we got 12 on top of 1 dozen. It's still going to equal 1 because the top numerator amount is the same as that denominator bottom amount. Always equals to 1. And the reason why that's important is because we're going to use that as a math process because of that 1. Because we're going to multiply by these fractions. And when you multiply anything by 1, do you change its value? No, you don't change its value. So we're going to use these mathematically in some of our problems. Does everybody have this written down? Leave it up for a little bit longer. Because remember, we're recording this, so pick it up. All right, so we'll move on to the next. So take a look at this one. Here's another example of measuring length. So what we're interested in is the orange line that's drawn here kind of in between these 2 rulers. If you look at the length of the orange line, it's 5 inches long. Well, let's say we want to know what that is in centimeters. Well, we could take out a centimeter ruler, or a metric ruler, and place it next to that line and measure it directly. And we would see that it's about 12.7 centimeters, or 127 millimeters. Is there a way that, what if you didn't have that metric ruler? Is there a way that we can actually just take that measurement that we knew and change it so that we get our measurement that we want in centimeters? Well, there is. It's using those equivalencies in a mathematical formula in a format to be able to change those units to what we want. So, write this down. Step number 1 in doing a conversion is draw a big T. Kind of weird looking. The reason for the extra long line here is sometimes we need more than one equivalency in order to get our answer we want. I hear big T, I think of Mr. T. Any questions about that? Draw out a big T. Draw it out. So, step number 2 is to put that number and that unit of measurement that you're given, that you start with, into the upper left-hand box spot. Don't worry about underneath. Sometimes you might have to put something there, but most of the time you don't. So that's the amount that we were given that we knew. We know the information. We know both the number amount and we know the actual unit of measurement for it. We know everything. What we're trying to convert to, we only know the unit for that. We don't know what number value it's going to be. We know that number is going to have to change. We're going to have to make it a smaller number or make it a bigger number depending on that difference between those units of measurement. Like we saw, 100 centimeters bigger number than 1 meter, because meter and centimeter have a different size that we measure. Here we're going from minutes to seconds. The next thing you want to do is you're going to want to write your equivalency as that fraction. Now the trick for doing that is you want to make sure you use, because remember we could write this 2 ways. I could write 1 minute over 60 seconds on my T. But I chose to write 60 seconds over 1 minute because now the minutes will cancel out. Because remember, we're multiplying by fractions. And when you multiply fractions, if you have things that are similar on the top and things that are similar on the bottom, you can cancel them out. And the reason for setting it up this way is that now when we look at the numbers, we can do the proper math and get the right answer that we're looking for. So we divide by minutes, and cancel out. Our only unit left is seconds, which is what we were wanting to figure out in the first place. The last thing you do is you have to do the math, which is to multiply the numbers across the top, and then you divide by the numbers that are on the bottom. The only number we have on the bottom is 1. That's nice. We divide by 1, what happens? Nothing. We're changing. But the 4.5 times 60 tells us it's 270. So 4.5 times 60 divided by 1 gives us our 207. And our unit that we would put here would be second. It's 270 seconds, because that's the only unit of measurement left. And that makes sense because, look, 270 is a bigger number than the number we had with our minutes, which was a larger measurement amount of time. Minutes was bigger, seconds was smaller, so we needed to have a bigger number. That's a good way to check your conversions to make sure that you're getting the right answer. But if you had taken 4.5 and divided it by 60, you get a really small number. You know that can't be, because you're going from minutes to seconds. My number should get bigger. 207. Let's take a look at another example where we don't have just one step. Sometimes we have to make multiple steps to solve the problem. Take a look at this one. The question was, how many minutes are in a year? So what we were given is 1 year. So that's what we would put up in the upper left-hand corner. And then we have to start putting equivalencies in so that our units cancel to get us to what we want. So we know that 1 year has 365 days in it. But that's not our answer. We didn't want to know how many days there are in a year. We already knew that. We wanted to get to minutes down here at the end. So we have to make another step. We have to change days to hours. So I write 1 day on the bottom so the days will cancel this time. My hours go up on top. And then I know there's a relationship between hours and minutes. 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. And I write it this way, with the 60 minutes on top and the 1 hour on the bottom, so hours cancels out once again. So all my units, years cancel, days cancel, hours cancel, I'm left with minutes. And that's my answer. Because again, all my numbers on the bottom are just ones. So I'd just be dividing by 1, divide by 1, divide by 1. Doesn't change anything every time I do that. So it's really just 1 times 365 times 24 times 60. Some of you might have actually known that answer ahead of time if you've ever watched the Broadway musical Rent. One of the songs in there, Seasons of Love. It's 525,600 minutes. It's on a measure of time. Figured out by using dimensional analysis. Oh, yeah. We're going to hand out your assignment, which has some conversions. Let's take a look at trying to do one of those.
One little mistake, you'll figure it out quickly. We always write the due date. It's supposed to be 9/7, not 8/7. Not due in August. Grab the extras at the end. Very small.
take a look at the first one here. We'll try to do the letter A. How many dozen are there if you have 540 bagels? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our T. Now, what do I put in the upper left-hand corner? We're going to go up there. What is it? 540, right? It was 540 bagels. I'll put a little B for bagel. 540 bagels. It's good to have a unit of measurement to go with it as well. Kind of helps you keep track in your mind exactly what it is that you're talking about. So in my next step here, I'm going to need to put in my equivalency that I want. And we're looking for how many dozen it is. So what's my relationship that I want to put in here? Sure, and where do I want to put that? Do I want to put the 12 bagels on top or on the bottom? 12 bagels is equal to 1 dozen. My bagels will cancel out. So now, my numbers on the top are 540 and 1. And what do we do on the top? Do we multiply or divide? Multiply. So we have 540. My only unit that's left is dozen. And on the bottom, the only number I have is 12. What do I do with the 12? Do I multiply or divide by it? Divide. Do that math, and what do we get? What do you got? 25. 25. And right dozen. See, it's that easy. So we'll do a little bit trickier. You have a little bit of a key down there in the bottom to kind of help with some of the tougher equivalencies to remember. And it'll be due Thursday.
The 305.
Isn't it 45? It's 45.
Oh, 45? Should be
Yeah.
45. Thank you. Didn't sound right, but I trusted you. I trusted you guys.
We'll be answering questions in class tomorrow, so give it a good shot. That's what we're doing in class. And then adding to it.